Republican Congressman Tom Emmer for more on this. Jay?
Yeah, Diane, this is the man in charge of counting all of those votes. Majority Whip Tom Emmer. And I want to ask you, Congressman, as you look at the playing field as we go into that vote tonight, will this bill pass?
Oh, yeah.
No question.
Pass. No question.
With a majority of Republicans supporting it?
We actually whipped for 218 Republicans, as you and I were talking before we came on air. Our goal is to make sure that every Republican votes for this bill.
And what are you telling those 30-plus Republicans who have said, under no circumstances will they vote for this?
Listen, this happens with every piece of legislation that comes through the House. Some people will get out early, voicing their displeasure based on things they've heard, based on things that they've been told. Once they start to read the legislation, once we start to have conversations, in this case, you're talking about a $2.1 trillion cut. This is the single largest deficit reduction bill in the history of this country. I think every Republican should be voting for it.
But if you lose those 30, you're relying on Democratic votes to try to pass this, right? And are you talking to Democrats to make sure there are enough votes on that side of the aisle?
We are counting on Republicans to pass this bill.
But if they're not there, how can you be so confident that the Democrats will back you up if you're not having conversations with them?
Listen, I don't count Democrats. We are here to make sure that Republicans understand what is involved and that they're all comfortable with the bill and they can vote for it. Our goal is to have 218 Republicans or more.
I know you were just in with Speaker McCarthy earlier this morning. Last night you were whipping votes. You were whipping votes into this morning. How can you describe his attitude to all of this? What's his level of confidence like?
The Speaker is in a great mood. The Speaker is, I think I used the words with you earlier, that he's on fire today. He's calling members. He's having members in. He's answering questions. It's all very positive.
And going forward, if this passes tonight, and I know we're reading tea leaves here, but how do you think that that impacts Kevin McCarthy with the overall conference?
Listen, when we pass this tonight, we are going to continue to be successful by moving into the appropriations process, which is the next step. Republicans ran their campaigns last fall to win, but once you win, you have to govern. And Kevin McCarthy and the Republicans are the only ones who have literally been governing since the beginning of the year. The White House wouldn't even get involved in these discussions until after we passed a debt ceiling bill that would protect us from a default. And then it even took them 3 weeks to get off their rear end and actually have substantive conversations. In the Senate, my goodness, Chuck Schumer and the Senate have been asleep at the wheel and gone. I think the most significant thing they've done in the first 5 months is name March Maple Syrup Month. I mean, Kevin McCarthy has been leading this conference. Republicans have been governing, and you're going to see more of that after this vote tonight.
Of that vote of 30 possible no votes, though, there are some who say that they don't trust the Speaker after this. Are you worried about them going forward?
Again, I think there's a lot of emotion that's built up over the last 5 months. Sometimes it gets directed at, for instance, a speaker as opposed to where it's actually coming from. In this case, I think our members are very frustrated with an administration that has been wholly incompetent, has caused double-digit inflation, has caused all kinds of problems, and we're going to risk a default. And here we are on a week where we're supposed to be at home working our districts. We are back in Washington, D.C. to try and clean up a mess that Joe Biden and Chuck Schumer have created. And I think that's where some of the emotion comes. Republicans are going to be good. We're going to get this passed tonight.
That's where I got to leave it. Thank you, Congressman. I appreciate your time. Diane, that was Congressman Tom Emmer, confident that this bill will pass.